So I was just scrolling through YouTube, and I'm getting a lot of Rivals content again, which good and bad. And I came across this video, Marvel Rivals Season 5 problem. You know, I agree with that. It does have a problem. A lot of unnecessary buffs to characters who are already super strong. I watched it, and it's just like, he brings it up as a support problem. So let's just rewatch this with you guys, and I'll give commentary and just my opinions on what he says.
Marvel Rivals Season 5 patch notes has a lot of people in an uproar, and why is every support getting buffed when they were already strong? The Rock.
Okay, now let's go back into that. For instance, Mantis, before she got her buffs, was nerfed nearly every single big update. Loki, the exact same. Nerfed every single big update, except for the most recent ones. Luna, her ult just got nerfed by 2 seconds a couple seasons ago. Ultron, his healing has been nerfed. Loki's healing and damage nerfed by 20%. Couple seasons ago. More anti-heal, more damage reduction, a lot more anti-heal has been added to the game. Venom has a 30% heal reduction, anti-heal, on his ult. Dives, like Angela, are getting buffs. Captain America, Hulk, more ways for him to escape the backline. Penny can heal on her own now. Thing applies 20% vulnerability to all enemies, meaning less healing, meaning supports have less impact. Hawkeye, another damage increase, because we needed that after multiple patch notes in a row, having him getting an increase in damage. Hela got a shield buff, and a slight increase to fly speed. Not to mention Hela getting buffs several seasons in a row. Mr. Fantastic getting a buff. Phoenix getting a buff, 15% buff. Spider-Man, who again is a flank, mostly affecting supports, gets a damage buff and a cooldown buff. Squirrel Girl, a DPS, one of the easiest DPS, gets a damage buff. Storm gets a damage and speed buff. Punisher gets a health and 2 damage buffs. Wolverine, 2 damage buffs and a leap buff. I even said in my patch notes reaction, the Invisible Woman did not need a buff, Rocket did not need a buff, but that was for previous seasons. With all of this extra damage incoming, with all of this more anti-heal, with all this increased vulnerability, you are going to need extra health, more healing. Like I said then, the 250, 275 with Cloak and Dagger and Loki, that's not going to really do much with all this damage increases. So you need to balance it out with more healing. Let's continue the video.
Buff is the most confusing because he was used damn near every game at World. As a Magneto player,
Rocket, I agree. You know, he got a lot of buffs. It wasn't needed. But again, his healing isn't really that bursty. Yeah, it's there, but it's not going to save you from a Hela. It's not going to save you from a Hawkeye. Not going to save you from a Phoenix. Yes, is it good to have? Yes. But Rocket's main healing source, that is not his main contribution to the team. If anything, all of his other abilities, except for his dash, help the team way more than his healing. His beacon makes the team fights pretty much a 6v7. Way more impactful than his healing. His ult, same thing, way more impactful than his healing. Pretty much everything in his kit, his healing is probably the worst out of all of them. His healing is not the problem, it's his other abilities. And yes, he is most picked a lot of games, and I know that because I was looking, I don't like stealing Rocket's ult. Even after the increased damage and shield ult, and change with all that, I never play it. That's why I switched to other supports, even though I really love playing Loki. And Rocket Raccoon is also just super easy. I would say the easiest character in the entire game. So it's easy to get into, and very little you actually need to learn about it, because beacon placements is placed in a safe location. Beacon, same thing. Don't place it in the middle of the enemy team, and you have a good ult. And a lot of players, especially DPS players, when they do play support, and they're forced to play support, they either go in Cloak and Dagger or Rocket. So Rocket Raccoon is the #1 pick because of ease. Sure, was he good as well? Yes, 2 things can overlap, but his healing is not the main problem, it's his other abilities.
Cloak and Dagger getting a health buff will probably affect us a lot. Like, legit, you probably have to fully charge a mag ult just for it to connect.
No. I think the rule is around 80 to 75%. You can just completely destroy any support with his ult. Especially if someone feeds it. If someone feeds the ult, like if he quickly throws it down during a Punisher ult, pretty much any ult, damage ult, if any normal non-ult damage comes in, it's going to be a lot less than 80%. Maybe even 20% can kill a Cloak and Dagger. Even still, any form of heal reduction can also kill her. Magneto's ult does have a big radius, You could be a few feet away from it and still get killed by it because of the increased damage which it collects. And it won't change much about one-shotting Cloak and Daggers. The only way to save a Cloak and Dagger is with your bubble, or with ruins if you time it correctly and predict where the Cloak and Dagger is going to be before the Magall gets there, along with a couple other things. She can still get one shot by it.
Woman, again, was already really strong. I don't think she needed any buffs. By the way, before all the support...
Yes, Invis did not need a buff, but with all the damage increases and heal reductions and anti-heal and all of that, she did need a buff, even though she is the strongest support in the game.
Crybabies in the comments come for me. No, I'm not a DPS main, I'm a tank main. And I truly...
Just because you're a tank main doesn't mean you have bad takes. Everyone in the game can have bad takes, no matter if you're a support main, tank main, DPS main. If you have bad takes, I'll treat you the exact same way. Also, stating your opinion, which I would say is kind of respectfully, giving your opinion, saying why this is the problem, and then going out of your way to say, and before support players are crybabies. First you were respectful, now you're not, so that tells me pretty much all about him in this whole short. Let's continue though.
I really believe these buffs didn't really need to happen. Content-wise, this season is...
Yeah, they didn't really need to happen, but with all the increases to damage, they did need to happen. Let's say it was last season the supports got this buff. Not really. They didn't need as many buffs as they do now, but since then, they do.
Looking phenomenal, but buffing pretty much the entire support roster was not on my agenda. Okay.
Yeah, and buffing nearly every DPS strong character wasn't on my agenda, along with buffing already strong tanks, buffing the strongest tank in the game, Magneto, buffing one of the strongest tanks in Hulk, buffing Groot, buffing Captain America, buffing Angela, buffing Penny Parker, which she already does good. Thing, I get, he was very bad. And then Hawkeye, buff, Fantastic buff, Phoenix buff, Spider-Man buff, Squirrel Girl buff, Storm buff, Punisher, big buff, Wolverine buff. Not to mention last season, Hela got a buff. Strong DPS, getting buffed nearly every single big update. This recording is already reaching almost 11 minutes, and I would go in previous ones, but I want to stick my videos around 11-10 minutes.
He did need a buff though. I admit, he was in the gutter for a season, which is fine because Loki ran the meta for a while, so I think it's good for him.
Well, he did run the meta for a while. He was in the back alley for, I think, around 3 or 4 half seasons in a row. Like at the lowest tier in the game, and no one touched him. He had a 45% win rate in high ranks.
For him to have somewhat of an off season. Now he's relevant again, which is fine. Either way, I am excited for the new season, but I swear the devs want the support characters to be damn near impossible to kill sometimes.
Damn near impossible to kill? Okay, impossible. Okay, I know he probably uses that loosely, but guess what can go through a support ult? Iron Man, Jeff Nato, Magneto. But multiple DPS and tank ults can burst through a support ult, like Magneto and Iron Man, just off the top of my head. You can do Storm and Jeff for the Jeff Nato team up to just grab everyone outside of the ult. That's with Luna. With Jeff Nato, you can also steal Cloak and Dagger. With Cloak and Dagger, you can use Bucky, grab her, pull her out. With Invis pull her out. Angela, swoop in, pull her out. Thing, knock her in the air, pull her out. Spider-Man, web swing, pull her out. And there's probably way more to that. Venom, alter, fly her in the air, kill her, pull her out. Wolverine, alter, pull her out. There is a lot of counters to supports with more and more damage in the game, less and less healing with all this anti-heal and healing reduction. The supports are not impossible to kill. All you need is decent aim and just a little bit game awareness. I think even Adam Warlock can burst through a Luna ult, if I remember correctly. Even Magic's ult can burst through a Luna ult. Rocket's healing didn't get buffed. He can still get killed very easily. Have you heard of a Moon Knight with a Loki? Invis is probably the hardest support to kill. Well, maybe Jeff still. But again, do you know what the apex predator is to Jeff? Hella Hawkeye, who just got buffs. Okay. No going after this person if you see this. No hate, no anything. I just don't agree with it at all. Now, before I wrap up this video, I just want to look at the comments because I haven't. Ultron mains, they dare nerf our healing just to make DPS healers? I mean, that is true with Gambit. Well, especially if DPS players are playing Gambit and just going fully DPS. My first game with Gambit, I had like 16.5k damage and 16.5k healing. We won, but I quickly changed up my formula with that. It's hard not to be aggressive with him. None of the health buffs were needed, but the Loki healing buff was. I half agree with this. The Loki healing buff was definitely needed, but the health buffs is needed just purely because of the DPS buffs and the anti-heal and damage and healing reduction and all that. All supports getting buffed at the time of the war support. Ultron gets nothing. Explain to me. Yeah, Ultron did need a healing buff. I know they tried to stop triple support and they keep trying to stop that. But I'll just say this. A counter to triple support, and this is gonna sound crazy, is either dive, a bunch of dives, or a bunch of damage. Let's say Hawkeye Hela. Especially with a Hawkeye Hela and then Cloak and Dagger team up with Hawkeye. And that would be horrible to go against. Ultron crying, oil curled up in the corner right now. Can't believe they buffed the entire support roster. Sad Ultron. I didn't even catch that. If he actually said this, yeah, Ultron. Why you forgetting Ultron here? As an Invis, pretty much one trick. Invis is not needed buff in the slightest. Someone who plays some duelist and tank and Stratus, I agree, but I think it's because the majority of players don't know how to peel. That is true as well. I made a whole rant video talking about even in higher ranks, people will not peel at all, then blame the support and go 11 and 12. The reason Invisible Woman got buffed was to balance the fact they added a whole new hero that ignores her ability that's literally in her name as a season prior, aka Daredevil. Rocket's buff isn't really all that noticeable. They just made him do more things a little faster, which is fair because his damage isn't that sustainable compared to other supports, true. Unless he's literally in the enemy's face, which is not somewhere he wants to be unless a defensive vault is used. Even then, bad things can happen. I was looking for them to revert his dash. I think he's talking about his dash being on shorter cooldowns. Mantis could have used a buff. I agree with this kind of too. Mantis's healing is really only good in triple support. Her damage, I mean, even though you can multitask way more because it's on an extended cooldown for the healing on an individual, if you're too focused on damage and picks, you might forget about healing. I bet people are flaming in here. Buffing a character, that's fine because another character is broken, and the problem to them isn't really balancing. I don't know which side this person is trying to go after. Is it the supports are getting buffed, so that's why Hawkeye needs a buff, or Hawkeye's getting a buff, or just DPS in general, so Invis needs a buff? That doesn't exclude Giga buffing an already good character while giving no love to low tier characters. Again, I can't tell what they're going after. Are they going after Invis buff or a Hawkeye buff? Probably Invis since there's this post about it. This is how foggy it can get sometimes. Because buffing Hawkeye several seasons in a row, Hela several seasons in a row, and then you buff one support, it's already good, and it's a whole upcry. I'm gonna end it there because the recording is getting pretty long, but let me know what you guys think of this video, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.